Hello everyone! Today we are going to go over the seed varieties that I plan to plant in my garden this year. I do grow most of my garden from seed, and I actually tried to not make a big seed order this year. Mostly these videos that I'll be seeing by the start of the year, people would be opening their seed orders and then showing the varieties they got and they were planning to grow in the garden this year. Well, this year I'm actually gardening on a budget. So I decided to actually shop my own seeds. I did a seed inventory, went through all of my seeds and picked the things that I wanted to grow this year. To be a little bit easier, I will divide this with the cool season seeds first, and then we'll move on to the warm season crops. I have started most of my cool season seeds, at least the ones that are supposed to be transplanted outside. The ones that are going to be direct sown, I still have to do that, but I'm going to go over them here with you guys too. If you're new here, I'm gardening zone 7B, New York City, and our last frost date is usually around April 1st, but I like to plant my cool season crops a little bit earlier than that. I have a south-facing backyard, which is where I'm planning to plant most of my cool season crops for vegetables, at least this year, and it gets a bit warmer faster for me here. And I also have a cover. I have two covers that I can cover them in case we have some unexpectedly cold weather. So I have started most of this, but I'm gonna go over them again and show you guys, so I just can have everything in one video in case later in the season and when you're seeing the garden tours, the garden in full bloom, you want to come back and take a look at the varieties. So we're doing cool season crops first. I have a list in here, but I also got the seeds out with me so I can try to show you the seed bags. So we're going to start with peas. I have not started my peas from seed yet. I am going to try to direct sow some of them. I was originally planning to direct sow all of them, but then I had a slight change in my mind when I was making the garden plan. I decided that I wanted to put some sugar magnolia tender peas in one of my trellises because I have two trellises in there, and I feel that sometimes I want to seed them full, and if I plant them with warm season crops, it takes a little longer for them to kind of come up, and I love the look of the trellis. I think adds a nice look to the garden. But I unfortunately had a rodent problem there last year. I know that they like to eat the pea seeds, so instead of starting this out in the garden like I usually do, direct sow them, I'll start them inside before and then plant them out there and hope that they will still do good. For the ones that I am planting here in my backyard, I chose two varieties this year. I'm going to use the rest of my sugar snap peas, which are my favorite pea. They are my favorite garden snack. I love cherry tomatoes too, but picking a pea just off the vine, you cannot beat the sweetness that you can taste. Peas will start converting the sugars into starch within 24 hours of harvest, so the soon as you pick, if you just pick them and you eat it, the crunch and the flavor is just out of this world. So I love sugar snap peas, and I still have some seeds left on this pack, so I'm going to plant all of them very soon probably. My soil doesn't really freeze here, so I'm thinking that I might even start them now in February. If not, I'll plant them in very early March. The second variety that I'm growing in my backyard is this one here. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the name, but you can see over there in the screen. But it says snow pea, and this is bred by Row 7 Seeds, which is a company led by Chef Dan Barber, and they grow things, they breed things for flavor. So I grew this one year and they were very tasty. I really enjoyed eating them, so I'm going to grow them again, and I have the seeds too. I wanted to use them up, so I'm also growing this snow pea along with the snap peas, which is good. This is great for cooking. The snap peas, they never make it to my kitchen. I always eat them raw. I mean, I'll wash them. I'll pick them, wash them real quick because I'm gardening the city, but I'll eat them right away. I love to eat them just by themselves as a snack. I don't even dip or anything, just pure. They have amazing flavor. But these ones I'll cook with them. So I'll pick those, wash and cook in a stir fry, or just like saute with some garlic and butter. It's delicious. And hopefully they'll do well again this year too. So those are the three pea varieties. This one is for the plot. Also produces purple peas, and this is kind of a sugar snap. If I do get some of them, I eat them as a sugar snap pea also. And then those two in the backyard. After that, for my green stock, I have already started all of the seeds here. You can check out the video here if you haven't watched. I'm growing some of this mix over here, the salad mix. It's a mix from Hudson Valley Seed Company. It's called Solid Savor Mix, and it's very tasty. It's going to be my third year in the row growing it, and still there's tons of seeds left in here. I have limited space to grow, so I grow them on my green stock. They're doing great. Actually, I haven't shown you guys the seedling update, but everybody's looking beautiful and they're so big. And then I'm also trying this little gem lettuce. I love eating little gem lettuce. When I worked in restaurants, we used to order this for dishes all the time, but I never grew them myself. I bought this pack and I think I forgot about it because I didn't grow last year. I'm also growing Purple Lady Bok Choy, which I have talked about many times. It's also going to be my third or fourth year growing it. I love the color of this. They don't have such a thick like stalks as the green variety. If you can see in here, the picture is actually accurate. It is a bit skinnier. The greener bok choy has a thicker stem and sweeter, but I kind of don't mind. I love the look of this so much. This is the one that I will kind of sacrifice flavor for looks, because I just love the way it looks in the garden. It brings me joy to look at it, and I still enjoy eating it. Maybe the stems are not very tender, but I'll still chop up the leaves and I cook them, you know, put in a hot pot or ramen or something like this, soup, and they'll still be good and I will eat it. But I do prefer the flavor of the green bok choy better, but I don't have space to grow both, so I'm growing this. And then I have Chijimi Sai, which is also an Asian green that's very tasty and is similar to spinach, but also I mostly like to eat it cooked. I use it also in a lot of Asian dishes that I make. And I have Dino Kale this year. I'm only growing the Dino Kale. I have seeds for a bunch of different varieties, but this is my favorite ones, the one we eat the most when I grow. For root vegetables, I have also already started some Bull's Blood's beets that I don't have the seed pack with me right now. It's just a beet that has some red foliage, and some of them have germinated, so we're gonna have some this year. And I'm also going to plant breakfast radish, which I will direct sow in the garden in just a few weeks too, probably. And then also this purple plum radish. It's very simple, not growing carrots this year. I did have some that volunteered last year that did great and I harvested them, but at this moment I'm not planning to grow carrots. Again, I might change my mind as the season goes along, but for now this is what I'm planning. I have tons of carrot seeds, so if I do decide to grow any carrots, it will be from my own seeds also. And then for my brassicas, I'm growing broccoli and cauliflower, one variety of each. I have already also started the seeds along with the lettuces. So I'm doing this mini burgundy broccoli and also this cheddar cauliflower, growing those for the color and also for flavor. I do enjoy eating the cauliflower a lot. This one is a new seed I haven't tasted yet, but I love all broccoli, so I think it's still going to be really good. And I'm also planning to plant those on my green stalks. So I have 3 green stalks which are vertical planters, and one's going to be dedicated for lettuce and greens. I do that every spring and I love it. It's probably one of my favorite parts of spring, actually, is having that beautiful garden salad bar growing by my door. And especially if you grow them early, they taste so nice and sweet, so they don't get bitter as what usually would happen if you grow them later in the summer. And I have 2 more also in my backyard, and one of them I am going to grow the cauliflower, the broccoli, the Dino Kale, and the beets, all of them. I'm very excited for that. I think it will look pretty. You can just imagine a vertical planter with purple broccoli, yellow cauliflower, some dark leaf kale, some red leaf beans. I think it'll be very nice. And that's mostly it for my cool season. I know it doesn't sound like much, but I'm trying to be very disciplined in the garden this year, especially for the cool season, because I want to have enough space to plant all my warm season crops. I also have a list here with herbs that I have also already started. I'm not gonna hold the packs because most of us, know how the herbs look like, but I started some oregano, some thyme, some green onions, some cilantro. I think I'm missing one, but I also have a video if you want to watch, so you can watch that too. Oh, parsley. Okay, I also have the parsley in there. But those haven't germinated yet. That's been my experience with herbs. They take forever to germinate, so I always start to get a little bit worried, but then usually I get a sprout anyway. But if they don't sprout, I put a lot of seeds in there just in case. I will probably buy some starts because I do want to have more herbs in my garden this year. And I also have a few things that will come back that I have planted before. So I have a rosemary that is in my green stock, and that she hasn't died, so she'll definitely, hopefully, come back. And then I have a couple bronze fennels that are already grow in the garden, and they come back every year super strong. And they also self-seed everywhere, so I have a bunch of little baby fennel plants in the plot and here in my backyard too. And I'm also growing some edible flowers, but I'm going to leave flowers to the end. So we're gonna move on to warm season crops now. So I'm going to start with peppers because I'm growing quite of a nice variety this year. I'm growing peppers in 2 places this year. I'm growing peppers at the plot and here in my backyard in the green stock. And the reason why is because I'm growing lots of varieties that are a little bit smaller of the peppers, and I feel that when I grow them in the plot, there's a lot of splashback, when it rains and everything, the plant's short and small. the peppers will get all dirty. So those I am planting all close to me here, but the ones that get bigger, like the poblanos and the jalapenos even, I'm planning to do them in the plot because I'm assuming this year that my soil is contaminated, so I don't want a lot of that splashback from happening. If I could, I would love to mulch the whole garden, but I can't afford it right now. Here in New York, it's hard to find those free resources, leaves or things that other people can just get it for free. I have to buy mulch, I have to buy wood chips and ship drop. A lot of people recommend that every time that I talk about in my videos. Do not deliver in my location because they just come with a truck, I think, and dump it somewhere. They can't do that on my sidewalk. They just say that they don't service this area, so I can't use that either. So, because I might not have enough mulch to prevent a splashback, I am planning to only plant things of fruit a little bit taller on the plant, and I'll also keep the bottom pruned. The big ones will be a poblano. Those are great for cooking. I love roasting them, blistering them, and dicing them up and adding to things, or stuffing them and make stuffed peppers. It's just great. So I might do maybe 3 plants this year, and then I'll hopefully can get some good harvest from it. And I'm also going to do jalapenos. So I have these seeds in here. Jalapenos, maybe I want to do 4 plants. This is something that I use instead of bell pepper. So my husband and I both like spicy. So if I'll just dice up a jalapeno and then cook with it. I think it's a great size too, because usually I don't use a whole bell pepper. Things very strong, especially the green ones when I'm cooking, baking soups or something like this. So I think jalapeno is perfect. So planning to grow more jalapenos this year. I am debating about growing this one too, pimento pepper in the plot. I think I grew pimento pepper before. I can't remember how tall it gets. But I might do these 3 at the plot at one bed, the pepper bed that I dedicated for the plot here on my map. So we'll see. I am not going to overcrowd them like I did years past. I wanted to grow way too many peppers and I put them too close together and I don't have a really good harvest this year. I will give them enough space and I will grow all the little ones that I still want for variety on my green stock, which I have grown smaller peppers there successfully on the original planter, the pink one that I have. The varieties I have here, this is a Brazilian variety, it's called Malagueta, which is kind of like a Thai chili, if you have had those, but more floral. They have a bit of like habanero taste, a very tropical taste, and I love it. And this one was my grandpa's favorite pepper. He always grew. My dad loves it. I love it too. So definitely growing those. And then I have the biquinho pepper. It's pronounced biquinho. I'm Brazilian. I speak Portuguese, so in our language it's biquinho. That's how you say the name of this pepper. But I'm growing that too. It is great pickled. This one is not hot. It's sweet. I ate it as a kid and I loved it. And it's traditional in Brazil to pickle them with vinegar and sugar and then put them in dishes like as a garnish, and I thought they were the cutest thing as a kid. I always ate them. So planted some of those too. These ones I do plan to preserve and pickle because I prefer to eat them pickled than raw. They do taste good raw. They're just mild sweet, but they have a bit of a tropical flavor, fruity taste on them too. Then I have this, it's called Dedo de Moça. It's mild as well. I also have a couple more varieties. They're all Brazilian. Sorry if I have strange names, but you miss the things that you can't get it around you, so that's why I'm growing most of them. This one is Pimenta de Cheiro. So it stays green, we eat it green. To me, it kind of looks like a shishito, but it has an amazing flavor. It's just, we call it like the smell pepper, or translate smell pepper. It smells really good and tastes really good. It's very tasty. It's a tasty pepper, this one. And I could never find seeds for this, so I'm very excited to grow this. Then I have this one called Arari pepper. I've never had it. It's called, also it says down there, Pimenta Arari or Bode Amarela. But someone told me that's similar to the ají amarillo in Peru. This one, I think it's close to the Amazon, this one, they grow around there. So no, the Amazon, the Brazilian Amazon, but also the Peruvian Amazon. The Amazon is a big forest that touches lots of the other countries. So when I went to Peru, I loved eating the ají amarillo sauce. It was so good. They have it almost everywhere in the tables if you have been there. And it's just, I would love to try to make it myself, so I'm excited to grow this pepper. I've seen some peppers online called ají amarillo, but they did not look like the ones I saw in Peru. These ones do. I mean, I could be wrong too, but that's only my experience when I was there. I will know it when I go and taste it, so hopefully it'll taste the same. But I'm excited to grow this. And then I have another one that I don't have it with me right now. And all of these guys are going to grow on my green stock. And then eggplant. I want to grow eggplant again this year. I love eating eggplant actually. Some people have a little bit of a hard time with eggplant, but I love it. I love making like Thai curries and all that in the summer. I love Thai basil, and I love making the green curry with the eggplant in there. So good. So I'm growing two kinds of long eggplant this year actually. I'm growing this one, a Japanese eggplant. I actually got the seeds in Hawaii. When I went to visit, I used to live in Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii for 12 years. Oh, 12 years, I wish. For 7 years. And we ate a lot of this long eggplant in there, and I loved it. Well, there's not a lot of seeds on it too, so a good thing it's like, because it's long, it's easy for you to just cut, you know, and add to things and saute it, and very few seeds in the middle. I like the texture. I used to work in restaurants still, and I used to grill them and then like marinate with some gochujang sauce and some other things. They're so good. You know, there's so many ways that you can eat them. So I really want to grill them again, hoping that they're going to do well. I think I tried to grill this one time and it didn't do very good, but I'm gonna give it another try. Then I have this one that I bought on sale at Joni's. It's called Orient Charm. So it's a similar long eggplant, but it's purple skin instead of black. And I do like the big eggplant just for roasting, you know, putting in the fire. So if you have never had eggplant cooked outside on the coals, oh my god, it's so good. It's a really good baba ganoush is made that way, I think. Like it's smoked with the flames, and then it just tastes amazing. There's a Greek restaurant on my street. I live in the Greek neighborhood in New York City. And they make this, just called eggplant dip. I'm not sure the Greek name of it. It's so good. It's not baba ganoush, it's different than baba ganoush. It's similar, means the same idea as a period eggplant dish, but it's so smoky, lemony, garlic. It's delicious. It's so good. My goal is to be able to make that dip just like they do, because I order them all the time. So I'm growing a Black Beauty eggplant. I was gifted the seeds by my friend Marcia. She gave me some, so that's good. I'll plant those two, and those are the 3 varieties that I'm planning to plant in the plot. Those are bigger varieties. I will try to use my tomato cages for them this year, and I'm gonna keep the bottom trimmed at least 6 inches to 12 even, because I don't want any splashback again from the soil. And also, if I have a rodent problem, they're not going to be going to my eggplants, hopefully. The squirrels probably still do, because they did eat my eggplants last time I planted, but I still want to give it a try, and hopefully I'll be able to harvest a few of them. So they're gonna go in the plot garden too, and probably I'm gonna plant 2 of each plant in there, so 6 plants in there total. And then for my backyard, the first one is called Patio Baby eggplant. This is small, but it's very prolific. It's really good. I've grown this a couple years and I really liked it. It's just a mini little black eggplant. And then I have this really cute fairy tale eggplant. I love those. They're so pretty. They are very small, you know, and when you roast it, you lose the color when you cook it. I'm growing them for the joy. It's a nice thing to have in the garden. So those 2 are going to be grown in containers, and I'm going to do 1 plant per container. And then let's go to tomatoes, shall we? I had tomatoes last, but tomatoes are super exciting, so I want to talk about that too. Now, I am not growing as many tomatoes as I did before. I had a terrible year for tomato last year, but the year before was absolutely amazing. But last year I was also not here for a month. We traveled for a whole month. I felt the pain for that, for not having tomatoes for that year. But this year, hopefully, everything's gonna go well, and I'll be able to care for them through the whole season. And I am planting only 2 beds of tomatoes in the plot. I did plant 2 beds last year too, but I think I planted them too close together. I'm gonna plant not as many in the bed there, and we'll see how it goes. And I'm also planning to do a different trellising system there. But I decided that I'm gonna grow my special seeds this time. I got this last year, but I only grew 1 of the varieties that year, and I didn't even get to see it because the tomato plants didn't do well, they just died. So, but this year I decided I'm gonna grow all of them. Why not, right? All of the beautiful special varieties. I'm gonna put the pictures on the screens for this one because those tomatoes are gorgeous. Guys, just wait to see. So, first it's going to be this Persuasion tomato. I'm also only planting 1 to 2 plants of each of this. Then Sergeant Pepper's tomato. This is the one I tried to grow last year and it didn't work because all of my tomatoes died. And I'm also growing this Sweet Aperitif tomato, which is a cherry tomato. Those other ones here are all indeterminate larger tomatoes. So these here are going to be grown in the plot. And this cherry tomato I'm going to grow in the backyard here with close to me. So I have another varieties too that are going to grow in the plots. Not only this, these are from this Carmel Bella farm. Put them back in the little nice container. And then she gave me a free seed of Jimmy Nardello peppers. I like them, they're very tasty, but I don't have space for them this year. I'm just, next year maybe I'll grow them. And then for the other ones I decided, it was very tough because I ran out of my Black Beauty seeds, which I love that tomato, and I don't have any more seeds for that. My pack came with only a few seeds only, and I used 2 seasons in a row. Now they're gone. And I wanted to grow them, but I also didn't want to buy the new seeds, so I had to let it go. So not Black Beauty this year, but I am growing the Cherokee Purple again. I love purple tomatoes, the deep smoky flavor ones. They're my favorite. I love them so much. So I'm growing this for sure, maybe 2 plants of those. I'm also growing this striped German. It's a yellow tomato that I do like the flavor a lot too, completely different than the purple one. It's more fruity and less acidic. But it did well for us in the year that I planted lots of tomatoes, so I want to grow these too. And I'm also growing this orange tomato, orange jazz. This is very pretty with the stripes as well. And I picked those two for having different colors. So we had, you know, they have these colorful ones with the purple shoulders from the Carmel Bella farm. And then I have the purple, Cherokee purple, and the yellow, orange, and then we need red. So I'm going to do the Amish paste tomato, just a regular cooking tomato, paste tomato to make for canning. I wanted to grow some Marzanos, but I already have the seeds, so I'm going to try to give them another try this year. They never really performed well for me anytime, but I'm going to try again. I'm going to keep persisting. Maybe I'll have to, you know, baby them a little more for them to do well. But this is the red variety that I chose, and I'm debating this one. I don't know yet if I'm going to grow this Midnight Roma. I don't know yet, so if I have space, I might start it, and if I have space, I'll put it out. If I don't, I'll just give it away to one of my neighbors. Those are the big tomato plants that I have, and I'm planning to grow cherry tomatoes also. And the cherry tomatoes, I want to grow close to me here and the backyard too. They'll be grown in containers on those 5-gallon buckets that I have. I'm also growing one that I don't have the seeds here with me, but it's from a friend. It's I'm calling it Smoky Mountain tomato. He's in North Carolina. He said the plant volunteered on his homestead once and just kept coming back year after year, but it's not a variety anymore because it has crossed with other tomatoes. But it was the best cherry tomato I've tasted. We went to visit them in the summer last year too, and I was, you know, harvesting and eating, and it was like so delicious. So I asked him if I could save seeds, if I could just bring the seeds from that and then plant it in my garden. He said sure, but I have no idea about the name, so I'm calling it Smoky Mountain because it's kind of a black cherry tomato. It has a smoky taste like the Cherokee Purple. Very sweet though, and he's in the Smoky Mountain, so I thought it was a funny name. But I'm not trying to name a new variety. I don't know if there's a patent on it or anything. He doesn't know what variety is it, so I'm just calling so I know. And I'm doing Sun Golds with aperitif, the one that I showed earlier. And then I'm also planning to grow okra. So I have 3 varieties here. I have this heavy hitter okra, which I tried to grow before, I didn't do well, but I think it's because I keep planting my okra too late and they get kind of shaded from the other plants. They do like a lot of sun, so I'm going to try to plant them a little earlier this year and give them a dedicated space also. I also have this variety that's from Brazil that's just called okra, so I'm going to see how this will do in my garden. And I also have some seeds that I was gifted, and this is a Hill Country red okra. So I never grown this, but I'm excited. I love to have red okra in the mix too. And I'm growing the okra at the plot because they grow tall and big, they need a lot of space, so they'll be growing at the plot. And I'm also planning to grow a Three Sister garden again this year, so that's corn, squash, and beans. And I have a lot of corn seeds, but I have decided to grow one variety only, and that's going to be this double red sweet corn. I never grew this before. It's from the Hudson Valley Seed Company. It's supposed to be all red, the whole plant, so I think it's going to look very pretty. I'm very excited for this. And I'm going to have 2 varieties of beans growing on them. Maybe I'll do 10 or 12 plants of corn here at the plot as well. And I picked those 2 beans over here. This is the Emerald pole bean. Never ate them before. Has a nice picture in the back. It's just green beans with purple flowers. They're not red, even though it has red in here. And I'm probably gonna eat this as a green bean, and I'm gonna grow this as well to actually let it mature in the plant and grow and harvest the dried beans at the end of the season. So those are the 2 beans that are growing along with the corn. Now, I have tried to grow the Three Sister garden before, and the first year I didn't do very well because I planted them at the same time and the bean grew too fast and entangled the core and knocked it down. So the year after, I tried to put the corn in first, wait until there was a couple inches long, and then plant the bean, and that worked fine. But then I didn't plant my squash in the right time, and the squash didn't do well. So this year, hopefully I have a better luck. So I will plant the squash too with the corn, squash, and beans, you know, the third sister, and we'll see how we'll do. So I'll plant the corn first, then the beans, and maybe the squash at the same time with the beans. So because the squash will grow and sprout down. So I'm planting 2 squashes this year. It's going to be a whole bed with the Three Sisters. So I'm going to put a squash at each corner of the bed. And one of them is going to be this, which is a Brazilian squash again. Sorry, I have so many Brazilian seeds this year. I guess I'm really homesick. I also picked this because this is in the Moscata family. So this is a Cucurbita moscata. I have a really bad problem with vine borers here. And I just never have good squashes. It just doesn't do well. So the Moscata variety has a bit of a thicker stem and helps to prevent the larvae to get into the stem and eating it up. So I wanted to try that, and also I'm trying to grow this along the ground, along the soil here. For a few reasons, I talk about that when I made this video here. I don't want to get too repetitive, but basically because I'm also having rodent problem, I want to have them kind of mulch in the soil because they're prickly, and I learned that the rodents don't like that, the small mammals don't like that, because it's not comfortable in their skin, so they tend to leave the squash alone. I don't know, the New York rats are tough, so they might not care, but we'll learn and see. And I wanted one with a very tough skin because if I do have contamination problem in the soil, they'll be touching the soil if they are maturing, but I'll try to peel the skin off, or I'll see what I would do about eating them. But I want to grow this squash anyway as an experiment. And the other squash I'm going to grow is also a Cucurbita moscata. So if you're not familiar with this, if you look in the back of your seed pack, you would say Cucurbita maxima, or this one's moscata. All of them are going to say Cucurbita, which is the family. And then the second name here is the one that matters. So if it says moscata, these guys are usually a bit more resistant to vine borers. And this one, the precious, I love eating this, the honey nuts. I don't want them all growing all over the soil because it's gonna just get dirty. So these ones I'm gonna train it to go up the fence on the plot. So the one that's gonna grow on this other side, this corner, is going to grow along the fence, and this one that's going to grow here more in the middle, all sprout in the ground. So let's see how that's going to turn out. Those are the 2 winter squashes that I'm planting to plant with the Three Sister bed. And I have a couple more squashes too that I did not talk about on my plan here, because I did say there that I wanted to plant all half of these with flowers. But I was talking to my husband and he's like, maybe we should try some squash in there. He really likes the squash. So we'll see. I might dedicate one of these beds to the squash, but I'm just a little skeptical because of the rodents. Yeah, the rats will just go and eat them. But I was thinking that maybe I could try to plant, which one is this zucchini rampicante, and also let it grow along the fence and see how that would do. So this is also a moscata, so that should be more resistant to the vine borer too. This one you can eat immature, like it looks in here, green like this. It'd be more like a zucchini, or you can let it grow and have it mature and harden the skin and turn orange inside and have as a winter squash. I'm planning to eat more as a zucchini as a summer squash because we don't have luck with summer squashes. I'll try to plant some summer squash here in my backyard in buckets, but we'll see how they will do. I chose 2 varieties for those 2, and that will be this here is a patty pan squash. I didn't even remember I had those seeds, but I found them on my box, and I decided that I'm going to grow them. So this one is Cucurbita pepo, I just saw here. And that's going to be resistant to vine borers, but I'm going to try to grow anyway. And then I'm also going to grow this dark star zucchini, which is just a regular zucchini. I'll probably only get a few fruit from it because, again, vine borers. But someone also told me that if I plant them in June, I might avoid like the reproductive cycle of the vine borer, the bug, and then I might be able to get a much better harvest. So I might try to do that and plant those 2 guys a little bit later in the season in June and see how they do. And it feels like I've been talking for a long time. Let me get some water. I'm not even done. I still have a few things to talk about. Alright, this was only vegetables, but I still have more things. I'm also growing bush beans on the green stalk. So what's gonna happen, beans are a very fast crop, especially the bush beans. They tend to mature all at once, maybe give you a second flush if you're lucky. Sometimes I get some or not, but usually they come all at once. You pick them, then you move on, and they're usually ready within 60 days, so they're a very fast crop. So what I want to do is, after I harvest my broccoli and the cauliflower from my green stalk, which I'll be planting pretty soon, this month or the next month, so as a cool season crop, they will grow through April, May, June. Hopefully they'll mature. I will harvest them in June, and then I will I made my planters with some compost, some worm castings, and I will plant some beans in there where the cauliflower and the broccoli was. So I wanted to have a little bit of fun with that too, and some color. So I picked some different color ones. I have this yellow bean over here. You can read the name over there. I'm not gonna try to pronounce this French word. So this is the yellow variety. I have this cantate beans, and it's green. It will be the green variety. And then I have the red swan beans, which I've grown a couple years ago. I love it because they get the exact same color as my red green stock, and I think that's so cool. I love that so much. So growing these two. And then I have this Celine bush beans, which I bought last year also. And those are like a light lavender purple. I'll put this picture here as well so you can see. And those are all kind of going to be mixed up in the green stock. If you watched my planting video here, you saw that I also said that I wanted to grow long beans on my second trellis, and those are the beans here. I'm going to plant them early in the season, probably right after our last frost date. So I have this red noodle bean here, the red color, and I have this green one. So I want to plant both of them mixed together on my trellis at the plot. And there's one more bean, a lot of beans this year, that I want to plant too. But this one I'm gonna plant after my peas are done. So the Magnolia tendril peas, they will probably flower and give fruit in June. Maybe they'll survive until July, but usually it gets too hot for peas and they end up dying. So after that I want to plant these scarlet runner beans. They have very beautiful red flowers and they attract hummingbirds. So I want to kind of be like a fall display. So I'll plant them in June, maybe in July, and probably harvest them in September. Oh, sometimes we warm all the way into October here, so we could even have a longer season like that. But this is so pretty. I'm growing for the looks and also for the beans, but I also think it will look very nice in the trailers, and I hope they'll work out for the fall too. That's what I have for vegetables. I was planning to talk about flowers, but it might be a little bit too long. The flowers this year are not going to be as exciting as the year before. I already talked about my dahlias in the past video and talked about the cool season flowers, and I link a video over here too if you're curious to see all of the varieties that I have. But for my warm season, I'm basically just growing sunflower, zinnias, and marigolds. So far I might change my mind, but that's what I have planned at this moment. I am growing edible flowers too. I'm going to grow some nasturtiums and violas. The violas have already been started, the pansies. The nasturtiums I'm going to start a little later. But they're going to be back here with me in my backyard, mostly used for cooking. And I want to use some flowers for pest control this year too. So one of the reasons why I'm planning to plant marigold this year is to interplant with my veggies in here. So one side of this garden I said was going to be flowers, but there'll be mostly like cut flowers or pollinator friendly flowers, native flowers. And then interplanted with some of my crops, I want to put some marigolds, and maybe put some marigolds on the other side too. But I have a really high pest pressure at the plot. I don't use anything. I garden organically. I got this organic pest control thing that I'm going to try to use, but it's not a lot, it's just a little bottle, so that I might use mostly from my backyard. The plot's really big, so it's not going to last much if I use there. But I want to try to use this companion planting techniques to deter some pests too. Other than marigolds, I'm actually also doing green onions and alliums, hopefully if they grow, if they sprout, around the plants as well. So maybe in the front of the trellis where the tomatoes are, I'll plant some marigolds, green onions, marigolds, basil, something like this, you know. So basil also has a strong scent, it's a great companion plant for tomatoes. It helps mask the scent of the other veggies you're growing, so the bugs that like to eat them, they get a little bit confused sometimes and they won't go and attack the plant. At least that's what I've heard. So growing a lot of herbs and things that smell strong in your garden is good for pest control. So I'm also thinking to add the thyme and the oregano that I have started there also. And hope that that will help out a little bit as well. But just in case you're curious, for the flowers that I'm planning to plant, I will do all cool flowers in here in the front part of the garden, and some of them are going to stay longer, some of them are going to be done by May or June. So then I'll plant some zinnias after that, and I will plant some sunflowers around the garden too. Sunflowers are great for attracting birds, and I love when the birds go to the garden. For sunflowers, I'm growing this, I'm gonna try to actually grow this mammoth sunflower. Let's see how big it's gonna get. I never really tried to grow a really big one before. All the big ones I have grown in my garden before were volunteers. They were from seed from the all day year that mixed and came back, and they came back huge. But I don't have seeds for them, and they just got up and pollinated and volunteered in there. But I had this on my seed collection, so I'm going to give it a try this year too and see how big they will get. I also have some other packs that I had around that I want to use it up. So this one here, I tried to grow and it didn't germinate last time, so I'll just throw some seeds in there and see what happens. And I have this white light sunflower, which I want to plant kind of early in the spring, just by our frost date time. I crave flowers in the spring so much. I love having fresh bouquets in my home for my own well-being. So I'm planting this for an early bouquet because those Pro-Cut sunflowers, they're mature in 50 days. So I'll plant them on April 1st and have flowers by the end of May, the beginning of June. So I have some seeds from Sunflower Steve in here still, and I'm thinking about if I'm gonna plant them this year or not. I'm still debating. And then I have this branching sunflower, Florenza sunflower, that's more into the reds and warming tones. So I might plant that after the whites for fall, so they can mature and look good a little bit later in the season as well. For zinnias, I actually was able to get one of the Floret Originals. They're a bit pricey for me, I understand, she's an independent grower, but I was only able to get a couple packs of her seeds because I am gardening the budget this year. And I decided to get the Alpenglow. I don't have the seed pack with me because I just bought them, so I don't know what's gonna come, but it's a beautiful pastel tone, light colored zinnia that I'm excited to grow. And I plan to actually plant them right here in the front of the arch for some beauty in the garden. Once whatever I have planted here, probably stock from the spring, is done. And I also got a dahlia seed pack to add to my dahlia seedling project that I'm gonna do in the front yard. So I got the Petit Floret ones, and those are going to be grown from seed, and they're all going to be a different flower that will come up from that. So that's exciting too. For the other zinnia, I might put some more zinnias here next to the peppers. I'm thinking to do the Banner Giants or the Queenie Lime varieties. I have both of the packs. I haven't really decided yet, so I'll think about it once, a little bit later in the season, because they can only be planted in May, so I have time. And that's mostly it. That's the seed selection for this year. I'm very excited for this growing season. This is just a first plan. Things change with the garden. I'm trying to be more organized this year, and I made a map and a plan, and I'm trying to separate my varieties and make a list, but you know how it is with gardening. Things can change with the season. Not all of the seeds are going to germinate. I might decide to plant something else to fill the gaps, but we'll see how the garden will turn out by the end of the year. So if you're not subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe so you can follow along and see how our journey in the garden will be this year. If you have questions about anything, please feel free to put them in the comment section down below. I try to be very responsive. And if you want to watch the garden plan that I've been referring to this whole time, I will make sure to link it over here so you can watch that next. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you next time.